Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live. It is programme number 73. A very important announcement right at the top of the programme. It is the last of our live Wednesday night shows. Starting next Monday with the lovely Debbie Huxton, in fact, we're going to be broadcasting every Monday lunchtime, midday lunchtime. That's when you need to tune in. It's as easy and as straightforward as that. Now, my guest this evening is Richard Eaton, who runs Appware. Richard's going to be talking to us about how apps help people just like you in their day-to-day running of their business and their life, and also how having your own app will help your business in terms of sales, marketing, and even customer support too. It's just a great way of getting your customers involved with your business. Richard, great to have you with us. You're wearing
Thank you, Steve.
The cap.
The flat cap.
The flat cap.
The flat cap of fame. Yeah.
And it's the flat cap of intelligence though, isn't it? That's what it is.
It could be, yeah. I'll let you decide that later.
First of all, let me just say thank you very much for coming on the programme again.
Thanks for having
me. And you were with us, of course, at the launch of the 4N TV channel. That was a very exciting day. We were all a bit stressed about that, but we got through it. It was a great day. And thank you very much for joining us again this evening. Tonight we're going to be talking about apps and what Appware do. And as always, we always say this, it isn't a sales pitch. What it is to give that kind of takeaway for people to understand exactly how apps can help them in their business. What is the history of apps? I mean, where's it all come from?
Yeah, so the first apps were invented by Apple. So when the first iPhone came along, then, well, using the term apps these days is bandied about a little bit too much. But the original, as in smartphone apps, was Apple with the original iPhone. As we've seen, then people actually choose their phone depending on what apps are available. So one of the issues with Windows Phone, and the reason that only has a very small market share, is there aren't lots of apps.
The thing about it is that the Windows Phone, of course, the platform is very powerful.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that's so wonderful about it. Whereas you've got this inbuilt limitation with Apple, and you know, I'm an iPhone user myself. I'm a Mac user myself, so we like Apple, but Apple are very, very clever in the way they market their products, aren't they? They draw you in, and once they've got you, it's very difficult to go elsewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, so like I say, Apple played a bit of a blinder. They tied people in, and their technology is very proprietary. So if you don't like the way they do things, there's not much you can do about it. Android is a lot more open, so you can. But then, as you said before, then Windows Phone is actually a really good platform. Their hookup with Nokia was really powerful, and they have gained some market share and momentum, but they've got 5% share of the market. So my wife changed her phone last year. She had a Windows Phone before, and she was sick of me saying, "Oh, check out this app, check out that app," and the apps just weren't available.
And she packed her bags and left you.
Not quite that bad, but that was her buying decision on what phone shall I get next, was what apps are available. So it just shows the power of the apps. Really.
Now for businesses, and you know, for the old blokes and the old women that are out there, hoot steady, who don't truly understand the differentiation between the different platforms and what we mean by different platforms. What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that one up, because sometimes clients come to us and say, "We'd like you to build us an app." And we say, "Okay, which platforms would you like that on?" So most Samsung phones are Android. Obviously, all Apple iPhones are purely the Apple operating system, iOS.
Now, these are things that you hear banded around all the time. So,
yeah.
And Android, iOS. Is there any others, or is that the two dominant ones?
They're the two dominant ones. And then there's the Windows Phone platform, and there was BlackBerry. It still is in existence, BlackBerry, but we've not had.
What are we doing? We're waving BlackBerry goodbye.
Yeah,
it's very much that case, isn't it? At the moment,
Definitely.
They've tried everything really to catch up on the market, but really both Android and iOS have really given them a bit of a beating, really, haven't they?
Yeah, it was too little, too late, unfortunately, because they just rested on the laurels. And in this tech market, you can't afford to do that. You've always got to be pushing the boundaries.
All right, now for a business owner, which is the predominant one, if I need an app done, do I have any choice anymore? Can I just say, well, do you know what? I'm not going to worry about the Android app. I'll just go with iOS. If you've got an iPhone, I'll have one for the iPhone, thank you. Or is it now absolutely business critical that you have both?
It's pretty much critical you have both. So in the last year, I'd say 90% of the apps we've built have been across those two platforms. Depending on your target market, of course, you may want to go Windows. So we've just done a conversion for a client's app to Windows Phone because that's the system.
That's what they wanted, yeah.
Well, all their employees use Windows phones
Right.
as the company phones. So it obviously made sense that they could actually use their own app.
Yes, indeed, yeah. So that's a really good. Now, and what about the percentage then? You mentioned that Windows around about 5%. Don't worry, if you get these figures wrong, we will have to take you outside and kill you. But no, but fundamentally, is iOS. The perception is that Apple have the market leading share, but that isn't actually the case, is it? Android do.
No, obviously both companies pick different figures and band those around. So Apple will say, oh, well, we've got 80% of the market, but then they'll be talking about the US. Android will say, oh, we've got 90% of all smartphones, but they're talking about China and very low power devices, because with Android they can run really low power devices, but then they've got really powerful ones as good and arguably better than the latest iPhone. But that same operating system runs across all their devices. So you can buy an Android device for £40 where an iPhone is £600. So that's where they can manipulate the figures.
They manipulate,
Yeah.
and with that we'll leave it. But so
Yeah.
I suppose business critical applications, then it's going
Really
to be
want
both
to be
platforms.
targeting. Yeah.
Why do I need one? Why do I need an app? I mean, what is going to be the advantage? Is it for vanity that I'm going to have an app on the phone? Or, you know, someone's just mentioned to me, I've got more apps than you have. But, I mean, is it about vanity? Or is there, can it fit into a business model in a far superior way?
Yeah, definitely. There is some vanity, and in the past we've had people come to us and say, we'd like an app. And we said, why would you like an app? What do you want it to do? And you go, I don't know. My marketing director said we need an app.
All right. So that's the brief.
So,
hello,
yeah.
I'm from XYZ Limited. We need an app. I'll be back next Wednesday when you're finished it. Is it a bit like that?
Sometimes we get everything from people who've got a vague idea, or we get someone that will deliver a full specification for the last 6 months. They've been working on exactly what they want to achieve within the business, which is really nice sometimes. But then other times it's quite good if you've got an open brief, because we can obviously bring lots to the table with our experience. So we can say, well, have you thought about integrating it with your existing CRM system and your sales systems and your e-commerce side of things? So it works quite nicely. We get a real variety, but we just try to deliver what is actually best for the customer. That's the important thing.
And sometimes when you're explaining it to, do they, I mean, are there limitations in what you can do? When you're explaining this to your clients who come in through the door, do they think that everything is absolutely possible, everything, all singing, all dancing? And because it's such a small thing that appears either on their phone screen or wherever, do you find that they sometimes go, how much? How much? Do you find that happens?
The device is really small, so the cost has got to be small.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Unfortunately, it's not true. It's probably more difficult to create apps for smartphones than it is to build web-based software or installable software on your Mac or PC. Again, going back to that Android Apple thing, then what we have to do is design the apps so that they run on all the different devices. When we started 6 years ago, it's our 6-year anniversary
Happy
this week.
birthday.
Thank you. When we started then, it was all about iPhone, and there was only one iPhone, one screen size to worry about, all that kind of stuff. Even if you just look at Apple now, then you've got 3.5-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, the new 6 Plus. You've got iPads, iPad Retinas. So you've got to cater
You've really
for
got
all
to,
this
you've got to really
stuff,
understand
yeah.
that. Do you have that's iPhone and the iOS operating
Well, that's
system?
it, and that's
have you
the
got the
easy
same
one.
issue? I was going to say the same issue with the likes of Android, because there are different. Am I right in saying, because I may be wrong, but Android is like the chocolate. So chocolate, call it Android, and then you've got all the different bars of chocolate, all the different packets of chocolate, but they're all chocolate. But they've all got different names. And Android, you've got different flavours for different phones. Is that right?
It's quite funny you mentioned chocolate, because the latest Android operating system, they always give...
Is it called chocolate?
It's called Kit Kat. Yes. So as well as just having a version number, so Apple will have iOS version 7, iOS version 8, where Android, they had Android Key Lime Pie. And the latest one is Android Kit Kat.
Fantastic, I love it.
So your chocolate analogy actually works out really well.
Well, there we go. But there are those different things, and I take it for each variant, each version, and each manufacturer can then, because it's open source. And what does open source mean? Just remind me.
Open source means that the source code for the operating system is available for the community, who can then take that and change things themselves and put new versions of that. So you get lots of different versions of Android. But device-wise, because you can install this on lots of different hardware, then one app we submitted to the store the other day, it tells you how many different devices the app is available to, and it was over 3,500. And we have to cater for all those different screen sizes and the hardware in all those devices.
So is Android now becoming the more difficult one to actually cater for?
It always has been, to be fair.
It's also the trickiest one, isn't it? Because there are a lot of people out there, because it is open source. A lot of people do go along and all sorts of things. We've heard rumours about all sorts of things being embedded into the software of Android apps.
Yeah, and the other reason for that is that any iPhone app, and again, this was clever marketing on the part of Google, that their developer program, pretty much anyone can sign up to that, develop anything they want and push it straight into the store. There's no certification process. So that's why there's been news reports of malware and all this kind of stuff with apps that pretend to be Angry Birds but are actually just monitoring what you're doing. So you can actually get antivirus software for your Android phone now.
Which is something that, of course, iOS you don't
but with
typically
Apple,
get, do you?
No, because Apple actually certify every single app. So when we develop an app for a client, we have to send that to Apple, and it typically takes a week for them to certify that and send that back and give it a tick or give it a cross. Thankfully, get lots of ticks. But.
Well, all right. Well, what we'll do in a minute, we're going to come back, and you've probably guessed already that he actually knows he knows his onions. He knows what he's talking about. We'll find out a little bit of his background in just a few moments' time. But also the things that you need to consider when it comes to putting maybe a brief together for a developer like Richard to do if you want an app for your business to be done. We'll be talking about that. Also, I mean, can you do it yourself? That's a question. I mean, the software is out there, but, you know, is it just a little bit too complicated to do yourself? Do you have the time yourself to do it? What kind of costs is it going to be? How much should you be budgeting within your business? Are there apps out there that perhaps you can take from the shelf and then can be customized for your particular business? Could you do that? And what do you do when you buy an app? Who does it belong to? Does it belong to Richard? Or does it belong to you if you've commissioned the app? It's very much down to you. You can actually find out in the next few minutes. But before that, let's look back at what happened in last week's edition of the programme. Our guest was Joanna Godoyne. She's the owner of Inside Out, an image and impact expert is what she was, helping individuals and organisations achieve greater professional success. If you worry about the way you look, if you worry about the way you sound, if you're not quite certain what your body language is doing on a day-by-day basis, if you're trying to get more out of networking events, if you're trying to really pull off that top-class presentation, Joanna is the lady that you need to talk to. Absolutely, an absolute insight into how you should behave, how you should present yourself. Just to give you a bit of a tease of what happened in last week's programme, here's what happened on Business Connections Live last week. My guest tonight is Joanna Godoyne. She's the owner of Inside Out Image, an image and impact expert, helping individuals and also businesses and organisations achieve greater professionalism when it comes to the way they are perceived and the way they look.
And it's an area that's often massively underestimated by people. They think their experience and expertise is enough, but in reality, people buy peoples. If you go to a networking event, imagine you're a lawyer or you're a coach, there's bound to be other people that do what you do in the room, how are you going to differentiate yourself and stand out positively to those you meet who might not have a need for your services or product there and then, might be later down the line, but you're going to be memorable to them for positive reasons. And particularly for a job interview, I would always recommend you really research what's the culture of the company, how do people there dress, and whilst you'll dress up more for an interview, just take that into account and think about that quite carefully, because if you're overdressed or underdressed, you're going to feel very uncomfortable and not communicate yourself in the best possible way. Got very casual weekend hanging out wear, jeans absolutely. You've got tidy casual, which might be jeans but very dark jeans. Then you've got the sort of business casual area, which is where people get stuck. So it's a bit in between. For women, you might still have a jacket on, but a more relaxed jacket, more relaxed jewellery, a few more patterns, more interesting colours. Then you've got the next step up is relaxed business. So it's not a formal matching suit, as in, you know, for a gentleman, jacket and trousers, for a woman, skirt and top, or trousers and top, or dress and jacket, but a bit more relaxed. Whereas formal business is always high contrast, the basics. And when I run workshops on the importance of image and impact and what really counts, and I get on to the basics of, you know, really hygiene, attention to detail, people think, really? You know, do you really need to mention this? Equally, in body language, I went to a networking event last week and I was speaking to somebody, and, you know, I could tell we were in a group of 3 of us, and she was just trying to anticipate where she'd move on to next. We communicate a lot subconsciously through our body language, and we read a lot from other people. So if our body language is not consistent with what we're saying, our body language is more likely to be believed. Appearance, secondly body language, and thirdly, I'm going to say communication. I really mean voice in this instance, but it's easy for people to remember ABC. Well, one of the big things to be aware of is your posture. It's my personal difficulty. You don't want to ever be making gestures that are above your shoulder height, because then you're getting towards people's faces, and that's quite, again, you're putting a barrier and it's a bit intimidating for the other person. So it's about working with somebody to understand what their mannerisms are, how they work best, and how can we make them be their best self for whatever they're doing. If you're presenting, it's really, really important to not just look at one spot and fix on that. You've got to look around the room to make sure everyone feels engaged. That way you can spot if there's anyone that's perhaps getting a bit lost and re-energise the room and bring them in. Something I wrote in an article today actually was, remember you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So actually it's really worth listening, and that sort of emphasises what I was saying earlier about when you meet people for the first time. It's really worth listening to them to make sure that what you say is going to be relevant to them. I really hope that's been useful today. I'm Joanna Godoyne and I run Inside Out Image. I help people in lots of ways, one-to-one and in groups. And what's really important to remember is people do buy people. And we all work with those that we know, like and trust. So you've really got to think about your image, because that is your advert. And for people to certainly like and trust you, they need to feel like they can engage with you and build rapport with you. So do remember that appearance, body language and communication are really key. And on the page that Steve talked to you about, you can sign up for my newsletters, and you also get a free guide on Boost Your Personal Impact. That comes in 6 parts over 6 weeks, so not all in one go. It gives you a week in between to read and come back with any questions. There's also a couple of other offers on there as well. I'm offering a complimentary call for a limited number of people, so get in quick. If you're interested in that, do contact me. And just really remember, you and those that work for you represent your business, and people won't understand your expertise and experience if they haven't got past your positive personal image first. Thank you.
The lovely Joanna Godoyne there, and a real insight. I think the thing that I found the most fascinating about it was she went through all those different descriptions of how you should be when you go out. You know, when you receive an invitation and it says dress casual, smart casual, and she goes through all of those, and there's a whole section where we talk about dress down days in business. Some people just take it to extremes, and actually when you dress down, there is an etiquette when you dress down. She explains that all as well. And actually it can do you a lot of damage in your professional career if you dress down too far. And the one story she goes on about is she was at a networking event and a gentleman's nasal hairs. If you want to find out more, just go back and you could check out the programme, week number 72, programme number 72 for Joanna Godoyne, the owner of Inside Out. My guest this evening is Richard Eaton. He runs a business called Appware. If you're thinking about getting yourself an app at the moment for your business, should you be doing it? And if you are thinking about doing it, how do you go about sorting it all out? What should your criteria be? What does Richard need to know from you to make certain that the app's going to do the job you want it to do? And for that matter, what is the job it's going to do anyway? What can you do with apps? Richard, what can you do with apps? What's the key criteria when it comes to developing an app?
The key criteria is what are you trying to achieve. There's no point in just having an app for the sake of it. The same way there's no point just having a website if you don't know what you want to do on that website. So again, using that website analogy, if you want to sell stuff, then you need an e-commerce website. If you just want to showcase your products through video, then you would need a different type of website. Exactly the same with apps. So first of all, you need to find out what you want to achieve in your business. Is that to grow sales, sell things directly through the app, raise awareness, customer support, all those kinds of things, and then look at this being a different way to approach that market. So one example may be customer support. So we were speaking to someone recently and all their customers end up calling their phone lines and their support desk a couple of times a month to find out how much data they have left on a package. So it's the same as mobile phone data. And so half the time, their people are just answering phone calls, looking at that account and saying, oh, you've got this much credit left. Mm-hmm. So what we're looking at doing for those guys is delivering an app so clients can just check themselves.
And that really... Yeah. Very good, because it puts them in their customer's mind's eye. They've got the app, it's convenient for the customer, so it's really got a true purpose. When you started looking at this as a business, I mean, you said you've been going for 6 years, and over those 6 years, what is the biggest mistake, do you think, that people make when it comes to apps? Is it, what is it? I was going to make a few suggestions there, but I don't know what I'm talking about. So you're the expert. So tell us, what are the big mistakes?
These days, the landscape's very different to, like I said, 6 years ago. So people now, there's obviously millions of apps out there. So it's not just about, before when there was just Apple and 6 years ago, you could create an app and as long as it was half decent, people would naturally find it and download it and use it. Because there's so many out there, then you have to market your app as well. There's no point just building it and putting it in the store and hoping someone will find it. Again, same way as websites. So now...
So when you say market, how do you market an app?
Yeah, so... so
is that another hour, is it?
Yeah. So there's the whole offline side, whole online side, Twitter, Facebook, that kind of stuff. There's also, in the same way as you get search engine optimization for websites.
There's app optimization.
Yeah, well now, depending, you can put keywords in the app stores, and depending what copy you write in your descriptions and what your app is called, is the icon compelling? Do the screenshots attract people in? If you just take really simple screenshots, when someone looks at the app store these days, they just see a title and those screenshots. So that they need to tell a story in themselves to drive people to download it. Again, one thing that people do a lot with apps, because there are so many, they'll download them and you've literally got 30 seconds for them to figure out how the thing works, otherwise they could just never use it again or they'll delete it. So again, one of the other key things with apps that we're always trying to rein people in on is keep it simple. By keeping it simple, people instantly get it. If you have to, one of my litmus tests is if you have to tell someone how the app's working, the app's not written properly. They should be able to literally pick it up and use that app.
I know that you've got tens of years of personal skill. Your business has probably got hundreds of years. Do people sometimes don't because it is such a small thing? Do they sometimes nearly deride what you're doing, in as much as they say to you, you know, can you change it? Can you just make it like this? That surely that can't cost a lot. You know, what kind of costs are we looking at?
Yes, the way we look at things is, if we have a brief, then we'll go through that brief and we'll say, well, that piece of functionality is going to take 1 day, that will take 2 days, and we're really transparent with everything. So we'll then deliver that to the client and say, we have a day rate, these are the number of days involved, and these are the bits of functionality.
Is it the length? I hate using this expression, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is it the length of a piece of string? Because I know how long it is. Is it the length? Is it like how long is a piece of string?
Yeah, it's like saying, how much does a car cost? Do you want a Fiat Panda? Do you want a Ferrari?
All right. By the way, the string, it's 27.5 inches. We measured it once. But it's neither here nor there. And you can use that. That's interesting. I tell you what, so somebody comes to you with a proper brief. And we've got an example of a proper brief, in fact, haven't we, where somebody came to you. It was, just explain a little bit about the brief they came to you with. And then we've got a little video that they've actually put together that shows you, this is for a dental product, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the background, then we can watch the video and you can sort of say how that grew and how it came about.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago now, then a dentist in York, Ben Underwood, came to us. And
Great name.
The app is called Brush DJ, so even better.
Yeah.
So he came to us with an idea because he wanted to improve people's dental health as a dentist. One way he thought about doing that is to have a toothbrush timer, because most people don't brush their teeth for long enough. So you're supposed to brush it for 2 minutes, but obviously if you just put a timer up there for 2 minutes, counting down, it's going to be fairly tedious and you're not going to bother using this app.
But do you know what? A countdown is just so boring. He really needed to jazz it up a bit, didn't he?
Exactly.
So what did he do?
So what he did, most people also use the iPhones and the Android devices as their music library as well. But of course, what you tend to do with that is only listen to the last couple of albums and tunes you've actually downloaded, and so you've got hundreds of gigs of information on there, and you never listen to that music.
And this is, of course, if you have an iPhone where you don't have hundreds of gigs of anything.
Well,
you know?
yeah, tens of gigs. You would say.
Tens of gigs. Yeah.
So I thought, wouldn't it be an interesting way to do it, to rediscover your music collection? So what this thing does, it randomly picks music from your library and plays that for the 2 minutes. And yes, it has a nice countdown and it looks graphically very nice. So much so, it's actually in the Design Museum in a couple of weeks' time. It's going in for an award there, and it's actually been shown at the Design Museum in central London.
So when he came to you with the brief for this, the brief was want an app for the iPhone and Android platform. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to do is I wanted to pick pieces of music from the existing music library. I want to use that music, chunks of that, to actually act as a timer. So as it counts down, it's playing a piece of music. I think that's a really clever idea. Is it random, by the way?
Yep.
It's a random track. At the end of that, I wanted to sound some form of an alarm or give an instruction or whatever. Yeah. So that was the kind of brief he came to you with.
Yes. So he had a fairly good idea. So how much
flexibility did you have on that?
Well, he gave us complete open season on the actual look and feel. His design brief was, if Bang & Olufsen made an app, I want it to look like that. So it's all very brush steel, neon, that kind of thing. And again, we try to introduce a bit of fun in it. So as you said, it picks music randomly, and you can, if you really don't like a song, you can press shuffle, or you can just shake the phone and it randomly picks something else. So we tried to introduce a bit of fun into it.
And the nice thing about it is that it's been so successful, this particular app. Now, it's a free download, actually, so we're not promoting the app as such, but What a clever idea. And to show you how effective an app can be, we're going to show you this video. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is a video about the app. It's not the app itself, it's a video about the app. So it gives you kind of an impression of where that kind of blue sky thinking can take you. So that if you're thinking of an app for your business, maybe what you should do is stand back from the business for a moment and go, do you know what? What if we were to approach it like this and come at it from this particular angle? Let's have a look at this and it'll give you maybe a few ideas.
Most patients I see with problems don't spend long enough cleaning their teeth or doing the simple things each day they know they should. Why? Because it's boring. Developed by dentists, the free Brush DJ app makes keeping your mouth healthy more fun and effective. Brush DJ plays 2 minutes of your music, taken at random from your phone, iPod or iPad to make brushing time fly by. Finally, keeping your teeth and gums clean and healthy becomes something to enjoy. From guilty pleasures to holiday anthems, use the shuffle function to rediscover your music collection while you brush. Not only does Brush DJ remind you to floss between your teeth every day, it also reminds you not to rinse out after brushing and to use a fluoride mouthwash at a different time. You can set reminders for when you need to see your dentist and hygienist, and even when to change your toothbrush. Brush DJ gives you the latest information on how to keep your mouth healthy depending on your age. And don't forget to visit brushdj.com and vote for your favourite song to brush to. Brush DJ is free, always with you, a fun and easy way to protect the investment you make in your smile. Download Brush DJ for free from the App Store today.
I think that is really, really clever. It's engaging. It explains to the absolute minimum detail, or the maximum detail, exactly what the app does. But the app in its own right is a very clever app.
Yes.
Brush DJ, inspired. So how long did that take to develop?
That took a couple of months, the first version, and then we've worked with Ben over the last couple of years and done changes and modifications based on his customer feedback, because Ben monitors that really, really well. And again, Ben has done a great job marketing this app. So it's had hundreds of thousands of downloads in, I think at the last count, 165 different countries across the world. Which I didn't even know there were 165 countries.
There you go. It's an education for us all. And what's he seen as the benefits to his business from it? I mean, obviously, 165 downloads, okay, it gives the web address at the end, but 165,000 downloads.
No, 165 countries.
Oh, 165
and
countries.
Hundreds of thousands
Oh,
of
hundreds
downloads.
of thousands of downloads. Sorry, trying to keep up. So what does he see it as fitting into his marketing campaign?
Yeah, so what Ben has been trying to achieve with this is, just to raise that awareness. And again, he's worked with the NHS on this. So it was one of the first apps to be in the NHS App Store. So again, they have like a certified app store. So one of the first ones in there as well. It's been on BBC TV and national newspapers, that kind of stuff. So it's been really well marketed. And that's one of the things Ben was trying to do, just genuinely help people. From a business perspective, then the business model with this one is to get a huge user base. At that point, you have a value in the same way as Twitter and Instagram have a value based on their user base.
And you were saying to me that he's already had people contacting him and talking to him about the success of that particular app, and how they would like to get involved with it, which is quite exciting. So who does the app belong to? Because that a lot of people worry about that. If I was to come to you and I was to spend £100,000, because it doesn't cost that much, does it?
No.
Please tell me it doesn't cost that much. But if I was to come to you and I was talking about an app like that, at the end of it, when we deal with a company like Appware, who does the app actually belong to? Yes, I've commissioned you to make it. Yes, I'm now selling it through the different stores. But if I want any changes to it, or if I want to go elsewhere, can I? Is the app mine or is it yours?
Yeah, with all our bespoke work, then the intellectual property, the source code, everything belongs to the client. They're paying us to do a bespoke service in the same way as you pay someone to build a house for you. So it is yours to do with what you wish.
Which must be frustrating if you see an app that is very, very successful. When people come to you and say they wanted something very similar to that, I mean, take for instance, if I came to you and I said, actually, I want a sports timer or something like that, and I came to you and I want it to play little pieces of music. For Keep Fit, for instance, there's a good idea. Thank you very much indeed to my producer. But Keep Fit. So, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a predetermined length of time. This could sound like a really good app, actually, couldn't it? I want a preconceived. I want an amount of time that I'm going to be doing a particular workout, particular exercise. Want a random piece of music. You've done all the work. Surely you've done all the work now, haven't you?
We'd have a better understanding. But if it was so close, then
that is such a good idea, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll speak after. Yeah, but something like that. Obviously, if someone else came and said, "Oh, we've had this idea for a toothbrush timer app," and we're so close, we obviously, sorry, this is a bit too close to other things we've done. So
now we're putting it down. That's my idea, okay? It's now recorded, and thank you very much to YouTube. Incidentally, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's just over here, just here. If you just click on that, and you'll get notifications when all the programs come out. As I said, this is the last live program on a Wednesday night. We're moving it to Monday lunchtimes. We did a bit of a survey out there. We asked people when would be the best time for the program. They said, "Look, Steve, we're going home on Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock. We can sort of while away an hour at lunchtimes on a Monday with you. We'd love to do that." So that's what we're going to do. Monday lunchtimes kicking off next Monday. What's the date for next Monday? The 2nd. There we go. It's written on my piece of paper here. Monday, the 2nd of March. It's all down to preparation. Thank you very much. And we've got the guest, Debbie Huxton, is going to be joining us. We've got a great show there. She's going to be... let me just tell you a bit about it. It says here, Business Connections Live moves to its new weekly time of midday from Monday, the 2nd of March. And our first guest on our new regular time slot is Debbie Huxton. This is what it says about Debbie. She wrote this. Business and executive coach who is in demand as an inspirational and motivational speaker, and her work, a new book, are making real waves in the coaching arena, helping people deal with their thing. Debbie will also be doing a Google's Hangout afterwards from the studio as well. We're looking forward to that. So Debbie Huxton, Monday at lunchtime, live on Business Connections Live. It's going to be a cracking show. And we're talking about the secret to being a success. How do you become a success? Now, you might remember we had Josh Pearce on a few weeks back. Now, Josh got 10,000 views on his programme in 7 days. Phenomenal number. Debbie is his mentor. So she's helping him, and look at the success. You should see Debbie.
I do. Debbie's my coach as well.
Is he your mentor as well?
Yeah.
There's a common thread going through.
There's a theme,
I expect 10,000 for the programme straight away. Thank you very much. All right, so let's go back. So we were talking about that. So the intellectual copyright of the actual app remains with the person who commissions it with the client. What are the other kind of apps that people come to you looking for then?
Yeah, all sorts. We're building an app for Debbie at the minute as well. So a coaching app. So this thing will monitor your moods, that kind of stuff, and Debbie can step in to help you when you need to. With her app, she's giving some of her coaching sessions away within the app, and then we're using in-app purchase for other coaching sessions further down the line as well.
I'm going to have to ask you, you're going to have to do an app for us now, aren't you? There's no two ways about it. But it's going to have your branding all over it. Okay, so people know where it comes from. Okay, there we go. That's good. Got him there. Right. He said yes. We got away with that. Okay, now, what about when people, on a serious note, okay, I haven't come up with a really good idea, or I do come to you with a concept that a number of people have come to you about. They've come to you and they've said, I mean, retail is one of those kind of areas, isn't it, where retail operations generally, except for the front window, are pretty much the same, aren't they? Here's what we do, here's the products that we do, here's how much they are, press this button to buy it. And you look at any of the retail websites, and that can be anybody from the big boys, Amazon, all the way down to the small one-off businesses. But that e-commerce kind of area seems to be quite. It's got a lot of commonality between all of it. We're all just trying to sell something, unless we put maybe some dynamic pricing in there, like an auction site, which makes it, I would imagine, a little bit more complicated. Are there apps on shelves that you go in and you can go, I'll tell you what, mister, I'm got a shop, I've got 30 products I want to sell, I want an app to do that. Can you just stick my logo on the front and the pictures of my products inside, and away we go?
Yeah, so something that we've recently launched is along these lines. So the past few years, we've had a handful of restaurants approach us. These restaurants approach and say, we'd like to have our menus in the app, we'd like directions, we'd like to be able to market to our end users. Most restaurants don't have the budget for a bespoke app. So what we found was that we were quoting between £5,000 and £10,000, and your average independently owned,
can't afford that.
Owner-run can't really afford that. It's not a good use of their budget. But what we saw, there was lots of commonalities, that all those things I just talked about, they all want that. So what we've actually done is built an app that does all those things, but we can brand up for particular restaurants. So all they need to do is give us their branding information, their menus. We load all that in, and we can deliver that at a tenth of the cost.
We can have a look at that, actually. Let's have a quick gander at that particular. This is it's all about restaurants. So the commonality right across the board, and we can have a bit of a gander. Let's have a bit of a look. So here's the app that we're talking about here. So just talk us through what we can see on the screen.
Yep, so as you can see, different brands there, so you can change colours. On the right hand side there's a whole control panel, so obviously things like menus change regularly, prices, that kind of stuff, so the restaurant owner can go in and change those things. It has social media built in, because everybody loves to take pictures of their dinner and tweet it out, so it's got all that kind of stuff in there. So we've got there, you can change categories, change your menu, all from that back-end system. As soon as you do that, it updates it in the app. You can take booking requests and they go direct to the restaurant, those kinds of things. Offers, everyone likes offers. So again, if you've got that app, you can see it. And then the good old bill calculator. So the end user, instead of the usual thing of there being 10 people sat around the table going, the bill was £234.63, how much is it each, and how much tick do we need to do? That does that for you.
I didn't have the cheesecake.
Exactly, it's one of those. Who had the rice?
Who had that? Who had the extra glass of wine? I had the extra bottle of wine.
Yeah.
This is a very different model, this, isn't it? So we had the gentleman, the dentist, coming to you and saying, this is what I want, here's the brief that I want. And he was, you mentioned that's quite an app, actually. You said that budgetary between £5,000-10,000 is the kind of money you would be looking at for something like that you can then go away up. I would imagine, actually, the Brush DJ is a little bit more than that, but, that's neither here nor there. The restaurant one, how does that work? And is that a common model that we're seeing at the moment? Because it never belongs to the restaurant, does it?
No. It's not built bespoke for that restaurant. So it's interesting that our business model moves from service to product. So what we're doing is we're selling something multiple times. So we're commoditizing it. But the great thing with that is it means that we can get to a far bigger market. And of course, that market wouldn't have been able to have an app before. And now the small independent restaurants can afford one.
So what we're saying, an initial fee, kind of a setup fee of everything, and then after that, an ongoing payment that keeps them really like a subscription as to use the app, which is a very clever way of doing it. And it's now, are you seeing a lot of people now doing that with these commercial kind of apps?
No. It's an idea I had a couple of years ago.
I hope we haven't just blown it and told
No,
everybody about it, but next week all the app companies will be going, here's another app.
So I came up with this idea a couple of years ago, but because we've been so busy with client work, we never really did anything until last year. And then we spent the last 6 months plus building this because we thought we've got to do this before someone else does. So that's exactly what we've done, and we've just gone to market with that, and that's been really well received so far.
Now, when you're looking at apps, if you are a dynamic business and you're trying, when I say dynamic, I don't mean we're really I don't mean like that. I mean like things change on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Take our business, for instance. So what we do, every week there is a new piece of content that goes out there. You want to have regular contact with you, our viewers, when we're on. Are there ways to have dynamic apps that when you use them, they will come up with the latest content? So you're not I suppose what I'm saying is you're not downloading the content to the phone and then it's static on the phone. But what's happening is the phone is then looking at maybe a server or something somewhere and going, right, the latest piece of content for that is available now, so I'll update the app, as opposed to a straight app update, which we all see when we get our iPads or our tablets or our iPhones out. Is it possible to do that, so you've got this dynamic changing of the actual content? Yeah,
definitely. Most apps that we build these days do talk to a server somewhere to get the latest content. We often have people come to us and say, oh, well, we'd like an app, but we just want it to replicate the information on our website.
A brochure, nearly.
Yes, exactly. And what I tend to say to those people is, you don't actually need an app. What you need, I'd rather be honest with you, what you need is a responsive website, if that's all you're going to try and do. But then we have quite a lot of customers where they have existing setups and back-end systems with all servers, all that kind of stuff, but they want the latest information on the phone and delivered to the phone. So we do all that clever hooking up with those things, and then we take it a step further because, as you know, even in this modern day, you don't always get a great signal somewhere, and if you want to get content and you don't have a data connection, then your app's going to be useless. So quite a lot of our apps, we have an app that is used in the bottom of mines of all things on iPads.
You don't want to get a great signal.
And you don't get great Wi-Fi or 3G down there. So what this app does when you're at the surface and when you're on a Wi-Fi connection, it talks to all those servers and gets all that content and stores it locally. So then when you're in the bottom of the mine,
it's there.
You can get the latest thing, you go back to the surface and it will check and see if there's any updated content for when you go back up there. So that works, that's the best of both worlds. You're getting that dynamic content, but it works fully offline as well.
If someone comes in, do you have a kind of a tick list when people come into you and they say, I'm after an app, and okay, we've established that they do want an app, but do you then have a tick list that says, well, do you know what, to make this app more better, you need dynamic content, you need it to be properly interactive, as you've already said, if it doesn't get them going straight away, then you've only got 30 seconds to prove your point. Does it do that? Do they sometimes come and you go, actually, there is an app like that as well? So you've got all these different things going on. Yeah. Is it quite a difficult job for you as a developer to steer the client in the right direction so that they get really something that's going to work for them? Because if it doesn't work, they'll come back to you and go,
exactly. Yeah, so that's why we're just honest with people and we'll say, well, what tends to happen with these things, they have an initial idea and then lots more people get involved and add even more ideas, and what you end up with is this huge...
Designed by committee.
Exactly. We always say with apps that keep it simple. It's far better to do one job and do it really, really well than try and be everything to everyone. So it's better to actually strip away things and have it so it does one job but really, really well.
If you want to find out more about Richard and his business, I'm just putting in to make certain that you do go. Thankfully, yes, you did come up there straight away. Praise the Lord for that one. Everything is fine. I'll just go into presentation mode. If you do want to find out more about apps and Richard's company, you can actually have a look at their website. They've got a lovely interactive website. It gives you all the information that you need as well. Welcome to App, where we develop smartphone apps and mobile websites as well. And some great blogs on there as well. You'll also get the stream as well, an RSS stream if you want to. Some good information on there. I think what's nice about it is the fact that it does highlight the fact that it's iPhone, Android, Windows Phone, iPad. So it's right across all the different platforms that are out there. Bespoke web apps and software as a service, and also mobile websites. One thing that we are seeing more and more of, and particularly with the iOS platform, with the Apple platform, is that we are seeing apps that are for the laptop now as well. Do you work on those too?
No, that tends to be a separate thing with Macs. Then they've taken that same business model as they've had with smartphones and have an app store. With Macs now, you also have an app store as well, but it's a completely different technology, really.
Listen, we're 10 minutes away from the end of the programme. I just want to frighten you by saying at the end of the programme, you've got 2-3 minutes of the key takeaways straight down the camera. So I just want to remind you about that. Because I don't know whether I said it to you before we started the show or not. By the way, if you're sitting there and you think, you know, I've seen him somewhere before, that bloke with the cap. We met up with you at the business show, didn't we? I think
yeah,
we
business
were there.
show.
Don't forget, we're going to be at the business show again this year. The business show we're looking forward to going. Oh, I've lost me. It's in May. Excel, so we'll be going along to Excel. I've gone and lost the actual page here. 13th to 14th of May is the actual date for Excel. If you pop along there, you'll be able to see us. We're going to be broadcasting live from the show. It should be a lot of fun, actually, as well. So we are looking forward to being there. In fact, I'll just bring up the website. There it is there. There we go. 13th, 14th of May, 2015, Excel in London. And as you can see there, the keynote speakers that they've got there, Julian Khaled, we've got Piers Linney from the Dragon's Den, Charlie Mullins, OBE, Pimlico Plumbers, he's going to be at the event. It's nice to see that Warren Cass is going to be there. Bill Murrow, who appeared, our own Brad Burton, very nice man, he's going to be talking as well, and a whole host. And there's Jonathan Fowle. We're going to be going to the opening of one of his brand new, I think it's a mentoring establishment, an academy. We're going to be going along to the opening of that in the next couple of weeks or so. We're really looking forward to that as well. Talking to Brad Burton, actually, I'm giving you a breather here for a moment. Talking to Brad Burton, keynote speaker Brad Burton. Brad, of course, is for networking. I know you're very heavily involved with for networking.
Yeah,
you see it as a real. You said to me earlier on, half of your business comes from utilising for networking. That's a heck of a lot of business to be coming from a single networking organisation.
Yeah, it's just a great network, a great way to engage with people and find other businesses, and not just in a going out there trying to find customers way. It's trying to find suppliers as well. So there's lots of people I work with. We have in-house team and people that work directly for us, but we also use a lot of for networkers for other parts of our business, so things like marketing and telesales, that kind of stuff. And we found all those people through the for networking network.
Do you think there's a successful way to network properly? I mean, last week we had Joanna on, who was talking about the way that you behave, how you should look after your nasal hair, how you stand. I mean, there was one story she told at a networking event, the way people are standing, that you just don't go and interrupt them because they are actually discussing things. So be aware, read people's body language and understand exactly what's happening at a networking event. Do you think there are techniques that you can use? Are we saying that everybody should read Stephen Thomas's book? You know, I mean, there's another plug. But you know, is that the case? Are there things that you could do and should do when you go to a networking event?
Yeah, definitely. As you say, Stephen's book outlines all that stuff, and even for someone like me that's been networking and it's been really successful for me, then when Steph put his book out there, I think I was the first reviewer of it on Amazon, and as an old hand of having done it for 4 years and done well at it, I learnt lots of new stuff. When I went into networking, I'd never done any. My strategy was simply to have nice chats with people and just be helpful and never actively try to sell. As it turns out, that's a great strategy to have.
And it worked.
Yeah, it was just, I'd love to say it was
The
my
trouble is a lot of
brilliance.
people do go to networking events and they are thinking that they're going room full of customers as opposed to
it's
a
just
room
the
full
wrong
of networks.
approach. Yeah.
A very different approach.
And most of the business we do is via referrals. So we'll go along, I'll get on with someone really well over a period of time, and it just so happens that they'll have a meeting with one of their clients in the afternoon that says, oh, we're thinking of having an app developed. So they'll say, I know just the person, I've known Richard for months, go speak to him. So again, we just try and be
That
helpful.
recommendation really does work, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the key to it, yeah.
Really interesting. Actually, the other news about Brad, of course, he had his first programme. And it isn't a case of it's, Brad TV. It's not that at all. It's actually 4 Networking TV, 4NTV. The first of their shows went out the other week. The second show can be broadcast on Wednesday, the 18th of March. We were just trying to lay down the foundations of what the show was all about and what 4 Networking TV was all about. Just give you a bit of a taster of that. And you can find this also on the Business Connections Live website at www.businessconnectionslive.com. You can also find it on the YouTube channel. Press the button here. And I think we're going to be including it on our iTunes feed as well. It may even come up on the Roku feed. So you can probably find it all over the place. I'm not certain about the Roku, whether it's going to be there or not. But you can actually find out a little bit more. You can actually see exactly what went on 4 Networking TV. Have a look at this.
You know what, we've been 9 years now, Steve, 9 years with 4 Networking, and this was going to be for us something new for us, something new for the members, and it's 9 years of it's been difficult at times, but we're here, and I think what 4 Networking represents is this whole piece about what it's like to be run a business, a small business. 4 Networking, we started in a box room 9 years ago, one group, and people said, oh, it'd never work. It's the wrong time to start a business off in that manner. It's a crowded, congested space. Look at 9 years on, we've got 5,000 groups across the UK, and it's amazing. And to be doing 4 Networking TV from this amazing studio is just so exciting for us.
Smile, be chat, join 4 Networking.
Brad is as brilliant as he is chaotic. He is a hotbed of ideas, of intent, and sometimes it's like, imagine a Richard Branson. Richard, he kind of wears his funny jumpers and he's out there he's the spokesperson and he's the driver. But don't for 1 second assume that Richard isn't smart, analytical, dedicated, determined, and has a great team of people underneath him that actually provide the right service and product for the people, their customers that they're trying to sell to. That's what we're trying to do with 4N now, is give the membership more.
Smile, be chat, join 4 Networking.
I've got a real passion for this thing. I've got a real passion for 4 Networking, and our whole MO is to make a positive difference, and we continue to do that 9 years on. And for the next 9 years, watch what we do. We're going to take this world over in a lovely, positive, benign way.
Well, there we go, fantastic. Brad and the rest of the gang there, 4 Networking TV. And don't forget as well, the second of those shows is going to be along in, what was the date again? For 18th of March at midday is when you can see the next one. That's Wednesday, the 18th of March. Guests in March include, for Business Connections Live, Dan Spicer from Hootsuite. Got Warren Knight, he's going to be popping in. He was one of the keynote speakers at the business show last year. And he's also at this show as well, this year's show. And also we've got Neil Clough from The Apprentice. He's going to be joining us. I think we're going to be doing him via Skype. Well, I can't wait for that. It's going to be very, very exciting. So that's all the housekeeping pretty much done there right now. If you do want to find out, if you'd like to have a programme like this one for your business, then you can do that. All you got to do is give myself or Linda Bazan a call. Here's the telephone number on the screen right now. If I'm very, very lucky, it is 01784, well done, 256 777. You can also email us as well if you wish. And here's the email address. These working hard tonight. Studio at businessconnectionslive.com. My guest this evening has been Richard Eaton, who runs Appware. We've been talking about apps, how you go about it. You've seen a couple of examples tonight of what you should be considering when it comes to apps, how you should be preparing yourself. I mean, we've stayed away from the thorny subject and we kind of touched on it for a moment. How much is it going to cost me? Typically, what is the industry standard? If I'm just going to be searching, you can probably find it easily on the internet, but if I was searching, are there levels of difficulty You know, a basic app is threepence halfpenny, a more advanced app is a shilling, a very, very difficult app is maybe 2 and 6, something like that. I mean, what are we talking about in money terms for these?
As you said before, it's anywhere from 2 or 3 grand for the simplest thing. Again, you need to be going across those different platforms up to 30,000.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Really?
Because everything we do is bespoke, then it really is. Let's say that it's like the cars and like the houses. You want to.
But the thing is budget it, identify that it is part of your marketing campaign or your sales campaign. Identify what you want the app to do. Be clear in your mind's eye so that you can see whether there's going to be a return on it or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's like any business decision. You've got to look at it as part of your whole business. If you're putting something out there just for marketing your business, it would come from a marketing budget and will not generate direct cash. If the other end of the spectrum is the whole app is the business, that app obviously has to generate money. So things like in-app purchase, or you pay 69p to download the app. But the beauty of apps is you have that scale. So 69p doesn't sound like a great business, but when you've got hundreds of thousands of users out there, downloading it for 69p, these soon add up.
And final question before you do your piece down the lens. Off the 69p that I sell the app for, how much does Apple or Android shop get?
Yes, surprisingly, they both take the same cut, and they take 30% of that.
So 60% of that. So you're making...
So you get your 60%. So yeah, on that you're doing your 50p-ish.
But that's you know, that's not bad. I mean, you know, if you were selling bars of chocolate, you know, 50p a bar, isn't it, is what you're making. I mean, that's really, actually is quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course you don't have the problems of infrastructure behind all that. If you were putting out content elsewhere, then you'd have to worry about hosting, those kinds of things. They handle all that. You literally put it to Apple, they put it in the store. You don't worry about it after that.
You know, it's been a real insight tonight. It's been very educational.
Great.
I hope you found it useful as well this evening, in as much as if you've been thinking about apps, does your business really need one? And if it does need one, what's it going to do? It's that old thing about when somebody goes to your website, is there something for them to do when they get there? You know, what do you want them to go to your website for? Do you want them to do something? Do you want them to watch something? Do you want them to interact with you? Same applies to your app. When they go to your app, what do you want to do? If you're thinking... maybe I'm going to stick my neck out. If they're thinking of putting a brochure in an app, forget it.
Yeah, no one's going to actively search out to be sold at.
And you know, and that really probably is fundamentally one of the most important things that you've really got to consider when it comes to your app. Okay, young sir, I'm going to ask you, look straight down camera number 1, because you're a very handsome man with your cap. I want you to look straight down number 1. Say who you are, remind us of the name of the business as well. And really the key things that we need to remember, it's the takeaways from the programme. I suppose it's the 1 minute pitch, isn't it? Pretty much. But if you could, so straight down number 1, the key things that we need to remember, please. The airways of Business Connections Live are all yours.
Thank you. My name is Richard Eaton from Appware, where we develop and design amazing award-winning mobile apps for smartphones. If you just want some help and advice, then get in touch with me. The best way to do that is to look on our website, appware.co.uk. As we mentioned earlier, we have some off-the-shelf products, and there are others coming. At the minute, it's for restaurants, cafes, bars, that kind of stuff. If you're interested in that, take a look at makemyrestaurantapp.com. And that's it, I think, Steve.
Really, and that really is it. So do remember everything that Richard has said. Remember about the different types of apps that we've been talking about tonight. Be clear in your mind's eye about what you want the app to achieve for your particular business. If you want an app for vanity, then forget it. Don't even go there. If you just want to put a sales brochure up, maybe your website is a sales brochure, then you need to start thinking about the way that you are using the internet to market and promote your business. See it as a marketing tool for your organization, for your business, or at least an awareness tool. And let's face it, somebody once said that everything is marketing and marketing is everything. And it's a lesson to remember. But don't just put a brochure up there. Lots of people do. They just won't be downloaded. And if they are downloaded, they will be deleted very quickly. If you can, try and make it a little bit interactive as well. Have valuable data, something that you use. Think about your own maybe your own mobile phone at the moment. You look at it, you pick it up. What are the apps that you've got on there, and what are the apps that you use all the time? I've got a couple of apps on mine. Obviously, the route planner, got that on there. Use that all the time. Another one that I find absolutely valuable is a data safe, where I can put all the data, passwords, stuff like that. Encrypted beautifully, beautiful app. Use that one all the time because it's valuable to me. How do you make your app valuable to your client, to your customer? What information can you put into your app that's going to make them come back time and time and time again? Because that's what's going to make a successful app. Remember, the app that we showed you earlier on, Brush DJ, we're not promoting it. It's a free download. He's not making any money. Just remind us of the number of downloads for that.
A few 100,000.
A few 100,000 downloads for a free app that is carrying his branding with it all the time and has already caused a bit of a stir in that industry. It's been shown on television. Isn't that the kind of PR and marketing that your business really needs? Come up with that unique idea, come up with that, and it's still possible to do. Just because there are hundreds and thousands of apps out there, your app could be the absolute winner. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's programme. It's been a real hoot. It is the last Wednesday night show. We go live on a Monday at lunchtime, starting this Monday, and our guest is going to be the lovely Debbie Huxton. She's going to be with us as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be midday, 2nd of March. And as I said, our first guest is Debbie Huxton, business and executive coach, a lady who's in a lot of demand. She mentors a lot of people, a lot of successful business. We are talking about the secrets of success. And that's this Monday at midday. It's going to be a programme well worth watching. And that is a lot. As they say in the trade, roll credits, fade to black. That's a lot. We'll do it all again on Monday at midday. But from me, Steve Hunt, and from you, Richard, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you all again on Monday at midday. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.